The gymnasium fell silent as Maya Chen stepped onto the balance beam, her dark ponytail swaying with each precise movement. At 17, she possessed the kind of quiet confidence that came from years of discipline, both in gymnastics and in the dojo where she'd trained since she was 8. The beam creaked softly under her feet as she executed a perfect back handspring, landing with barely a whisper. "Show off," muttered a voice from the bleachers. Maya's concentration never wavered, but she caught the words. They came from Madison Pierce, whose platinum blonde hair and designer athletic wear screamed privilege louder than her voice ever could. Madison sat flanked by her usual crew, Brittany and Jessica, all daughters of Westfield Academy's most influential donors. Coach Henderson clapped her hands. "Beautiful routine, Maya. That's exactly the kind of precision we need for regionals." The praise should have felt good, but Maya noticed the way Madison's jaw tightened, the way her friends exchanged those looks that had become all too familiar since Maya had transferred to Westfield Academy on a gymnastics scholarship 3 months ago. In her old school, Maya had been captain of the team. Here she was the outsider threatening the established order. "Must be nice having all that natural athleticism," Madison said loud enough for everyone to hear. The comment carried the weight of every coded phrase Maya had learned to recognize, the kind that sounded like a compliment but felt like a slap. Maya dismounted the beam and walked toward her gym bag, her movements controlled and deliberate. Years of training under Master Williams had taught her more than just how to fight. They'd taught her when not to fight, but the tension in her shoulders betrayed the effort it took to maintain that composure. "Maya," Coach Henderson called out, "I need to speak with you after practice." The other girls began their cool-down routines, but Maya caught Madison whispering to her friends. Their eyes followed Maya's every move, calculating and cold. After practice, Coach Henderson's office felt smaller than usual. Awards and team photos covered the walls, but Maya's attention was drawn to the newest addition, a photo of last year's state championship team. Madison stood in the center, holding the trophy with the smile of someone who'd never questioned her right to be there. "Maya, I want to talk to you about the team dynamic," Coach Henderson began, her tone careful. "I've noticed some tension." Maya straightened in her chair. "If this is about what Madison said, it's not about any one incident. It's about integration. Westfield Academy has certain traditions, certain ways of doing things. The girls come from families who've been part of this community for generations. Change can be difficult." The words hit Maya like a physical blow. She'd heard variations of this speech before, always delivered with the same tone of reasonable concern that made her feel like she was overreacting to even notice the problem. "Coach, I just want to compete. I want to help the team win. I know you do. And your skills are undeniable, but maybe you could try to fit in a bit more. Join them for lunch. Participate in their social events. Show them you're not so different." Maya's hands clenched in her lap. Not so different. As if the problem was her failure to assimilate, rather than their failure to accept. "I'll think about it," Maya said, the words tasting like ash in her mouth. "Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from and make sure to subscribe, because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss." The next morning, Maya arrived at school to find her locker defaced with a crude drawing and the words, "Go back where you came from," scrawled in black marker. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she stared at the hateful message, but her face remained impassive. She'd learned early that showing weakness only invited more attacks. "Oh my God, Maya, what happened?" Maya turned to find David Kim, one of the few students who'd shown her genuine kindness since her arrival. His dark eyes were wide with concern as he took in the graffiti. "Probably just some random idiot," Maya said, though they both knew it wasn't random at all. David glanced around the hallway, then leaned closer. "This is getting out of hand. You need to report this." "To who?" "Principal Martinez. He's too busy kissing ass at donor meetings to care about some scholarship kid's problems." "Maya, it's fine, David. I can handle it." But as she scrubbed the marker off her locker, Maya wondered if that was true. The harassment had been escalating steadily. First, it was just the looks and whispered comments. Then came the accidental bumps in the hallway, the way conversation stopped when she entered a room. Now this. In first period AP Literature, Maya took her usual seat near the back. Madison and her friends clustered in the front row, their designer bags and perfect manicures a stark contrast to Maya's worn backpack and calloused hands. When Ms. Rodriguez assigned partners for the semester project, Maya watched Madison's face light up with an idea that made Maya's stomach churn. "Maya," Madison called out sweetly, "want to be my partner?" The offer surprised everyone, including Maya. She hesitated, remembering Coach Henderson's words about fitting in, about showing them she wasn't so different. "Sure," Maya said, though every instinct screamed at her to decline. Madison's smile was all teeth. "Perfect. We're doing our project on Othello. You know, the play about the outsider who doesn't belong." The classroom seemed to shrink around Maya. She met Madison's gaze steadily, refusing to give her the satisfaction of a reaction. "Sounds perfect," Maya replied. "I look forward to exploring themes of jealousy and manipulation." The partnership became Maya's daily torment. Madison scheduled meetings at the country club, knowing Maya couldn't afford the guest fees. She suggested research sessions at exclusive cafes in neighborhoods where Maya felt conspicuously out of place. Each location was chosen carefully, designed to highlight the gap between their worlds. "I'm sorry, I can't make it to the club today," Maya said for the third time that week. "Oh, right, I forgot. Well, maybe we could meet at my house. My mom's making her famous lobster bisque." Maya's mother worked 2 jobs to keep them afloat, and their small apartment above the laundromat hardly compared to the Pierce family mansion. But Maya had learned to navigate these verbal minefields with the same precision she brought to the balance beam. "Actually, the public library has better research resources. Meet me there at 3. Madison's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing the frustration beneath. "Fine, but we're doing this my way." The library meeting was worse than Maya had anticipated. Madison arrived 40 minutes late, accompanied by Brittany and Jessica, turning their academic partnership into a social event. They spoke loudly enough to disturb other patrons, made jokes about the musty smell of old books, and treated the librarians with casual disrespect. "So, Maya," Madison said, not looking up from her phone, "I was thinking you could handle all the research stuff. You know, the boring parts. I'm more of a creative visionary." "That's not how partnerships work." "Well, maybe in your old school, but here at Westfield we play to our strengths. Your strength is, what would you call it? Grinding? Following orders?" Maya's training kicked in. The breathing techniques Master Williams had taught her, the mental discipline that came from years of meditation and physical conditioning, but even her extensive training couldn't completely suppress the anger building in her chest. "I think we should divide the work equally," Maya said, her voice steady despite the storm inside. "Oh, Maya." Madison finally looked up, her blue eyes cold as winter sky. "You're not really in a position to make demands, are you? I mean, let's be honest about what you are here." The words hung in the air like a blade. Maya felt the familiar weight of being reduced to her scholarship status, her race, her outsider position. But she also felt something else, a core of steel that had been forged in the dojo, tempered by years of facing down bigger, stronger opponents. "I'm here because I earned it," Maya said quietly. Madison laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Earned it? Please, you're here because the school needed to hit its diversity quota. Everyone knows that. If you're enjoying this story of courage and standing up to bullies, smash that like button and let me know in the comments what you would do in this situation." The confrontation at the library marked a turning point. Word spread quickly through Westfield Academy's social circles. Maya Chen had dared to challenge Madison Pierce. The consequences were swift and brutal. Maya's gym clothes disappeared from her locker. Her lunch was accidentally knocked to the floor. Teachers began calling on her less frequently, and when they did, it was with the kind of patronizing tone reserved for students they'd already written off. But the worst part was the isolation. Students who'd been friendly before now averted their eyes in the hallway. David still talked to her, but even he seemed nervous, glancing around as if afraid of being seen. "This is ridiculous," David said as they walked to their cars after school. "You need to tell someone. This isn't just bullying, it's harassment." Maya unlocked her beat-up Honda Civic, a stark contrast to the BMWs and Mercedes that filled the student parking lot. "Tell who? The same administration that just approved the Pierce family's donation for the new science wing? There has to be someone." "David, I appreciate your concern, but you don't understand what it's like. You're Korean American, but your family's been here for generations. Your dad's a doctor, your mom's a lawyer. You have protection I don't." David's face fell. "Maya, I'm trying to help. I know. But some battles have to be fought alone." That afternoon, Maya drove to the one place where she felt truly safe, Master Williams's dojo. The converted warehouse sat in a rough part of town, its nondescript exterior hiding one of the most respected martial arts schools in the state. Maya had trained here since she was 8, when her mother had scraped together enough money for lessons, believing that a young black girl needed to know how to defend herself. What her mother hadn't known was that Master Williams was a former Navy SEAL who'd opened the dojo after retiring from special operations. His approach to martial arts went far beyond physical techniques. He taught discipline, strategy, and most importantly, how to fight smart rather than just hard. "You're carrying tension in your shoulders," Master Williams observed as Maya went through her warm-up routine. At 55, he moved with the fluid grace of someone half his age, his presence commanding without being intimidating. "Just school stuff," Maya replied, but her strikes against the heavy bag lacked their usual precision. "School stuff doesn't make you telegraph your right hook. Talk to me." Maya paused, her wrapped hands resting against the bag. The dojo was empty except for them. Most students came in the evening. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken words. "They want me to fail," Maya said finally. "They?" "Everyone. The girls on the team. The administration. They want me to prove that I don't belong there." Master Williams nodded slowly. "And? And what? Do you belong there?" Maya's first instinct was to defend her presence at Westfield Academy, to list her achievements and grades and gymnastics scores. But Master Williams had a way of cutting through bullshit that made such defenses feel hollow. "I don't know anymore," she admitted. "Maya, I've been training fighters for 30 years. I've seen natural talent, I've seen hard work, and I've seen heart. You have all three. But more importantly, you have something they don't. What's that? You've been tested. Every day of your life you've had to prove yourself. They've never had to face real adversity. When the moment comes, and it will come, that difference will matter." Maya felt tears threatening, but pushed them back. "What if I can't handle it? What if I'm not strong enough?" Master Williams walked to the wall where photos of his former students hung, soldiers, police officers, competition champions, and ordinary people who'd learned to find strength they didn't know they had. Strength isn't about never falling down. It's about getting back up every time. "And Maya, you're one of the strongest people I know." The next few weeks brought a new level of psychological warfare. Maya's car was keyed in the parking lot. Her social media accounts were flooded with anonymous hate messages. Someone started a rumor that she was dealing drugs to pay for her gymnastics equipment. The administration's response was predictably inadequate. Principal Martinez called it teenage drama and suggested that Maya might be too sensitive to the normal social dynamics of a prestigious school. The guidance counselor offered to transfer her to a more suitable environment. Coach Henderson stopped meeting Maya's eyes during practice. The unspoken message was clear. If Maya wanted to stay on the team, she needed to accept her place in the hierarchy. But Maya had learned something in Master Williams's dojo that her tormentors had never been taught: how to endure. Every morning she showed up. Every practice she performed. Every class she participated. She became a ghost in her own life, present but not truly there, surviving on discipline and the promise that this too would pass. The breaking point came during a pep rally 3 weeks before regionals. Maya sat in the gymnasium bleachers, watching Madison and the other cheerleaders perform their routine. The energy in the room was electric, students cheering for their school, their teams, their shared identity. "Look at her," Madison's voice carried clearly through the noise. She stood on the gym floor, close enough to the bleachers that her words would carry, just sitting there like she owns the place. Maya looked up to find Madison staring directly at her, surrounded by her friends and half the student body. The moment stretched between them, charged with months of accumulated tension. "I mean, I get that the school needed to diversify," Madison continued, her voice rising. "But did they have to import their charity case from the ghetto?" The gymnasium didn't fall silent. That would have been too dramatic, too obvious. Instead, the noise continued, but Maya could feel the shift in attention. Students were looking at her, waiting for her reaction, feeding off the drama. Maya stood up slowly, her movements controlled and deliberate. She walked down the bleachers, past the staring faces, past the phones being pulled out to record whatever was about to happen. She stopped in front of Madison, close enough that their conversation would be private, far enough that it wouldn't look like aggression. "Is there something you want to say to me?" Maya asked, her voice calm. Madison's smile was pure poison. "I think I already said it." "Then we're done here." Maya turned to walk away, but Madison's voice stopped her. "That's right. Walk away. It's what your kind does best. The words hit Maya like a physical blow. Your kind. In 2 words, Madison had stripped away every pretense, every polite fiction about school spirit and team unity. She'd said what everyone was thinking but had been too careful to voice. Maya turned back, and for a moment, Madison's confidence wavered. There was something in Maya's eyes. Not anger, but something colder, more dangerous. You're right, Maya said quietly. I do walk away, but not because I'm weak, because I choose my battles carefully. She left the gymnasium amid whispers and stares, but her words had carried. Madison's friends exchanged glances, and for the first time, Maya saw uncertainty in their ranks. The humiliation at the pep rally marked the beginning of Maya's true isolation. Students who had previously been neutral now openly avoided her, afraid of being associated with someone who'd been so publicly targeted. The few who might have supported her lacked the courage to stand against the Pierce family's influence. Maya's grades began to slip, not because she'd stopped trying, but because teachers graded her work with increasing harshness. Her AP literature essay came back with a C, covered in red ink questioning her understanding of complex themes. The same essay structure that had earned her A's at her previous school was now deemed simplistic and lacking sophistication. Coach Henderson called her into the office again, this time with a different message. Maya, I've been thinking about the team composition for regionals. Madison has been training here for 4 years. She knows the routines, the expectations. The judges will be looking for consistency. The words were carefully chosen, legally defensible. Maya wasn't being kicked off the team. She was being benched for strategic reasons. Coach, my scores have been higher than Madison's all season. This isn't just about individual performance. It's about team chemistry. Madison has relationships with these judges. They've watched her grow up in this sport. Maya felt the familiar weight of coded language. Madison belonged to the right families, the right communities. She was known, trusted, safe. Maya was the outsider, the risk, the scholarship kid who might not perform under pressure. I see, Maya said, her voice hollow. You're still part of the team, Coach Henderson added quickly. You'll travel with us, support from the sidelines. There's always next year. Next year. As if Maya could survive another year of this systematized cruelty. That evening, Maya sat in her car in the dojo parking lot, too emotionally drained to go inside. Her phone buzzed with a text from David. Heard about regionals. This is bullshit. We need to do something. Maya stared at the message, then deleted it without responding. David meant well, but he didn't understand. In his world, problems could be solved through proper channels, by talking to the right people, by following the rules. He'd never learned that the rules were written by people who had no intention of protecting girls like Maya. The dojo door opened, and Master Williams emerged. He approached her car with the unhurried pace of someone who'd learned to read situations before acting. You coming in, or are we having therapy session in the parking lot? Despite everything, Maya smiled. I got benched from regionals. I figured. Want to talk about it inside? The dojo felt different that evening. The familiar sense of sweat and training mats, the sound of her footsteps on the wooden floor. Everything seemed muted, distant. Maya went through her warm-up routine mechanically, her mind elsewhere. You're distracted, Master Williams observed. In combat, distraction gets you killed. This isn't combat, isn't it? Maya paused, her hands wrapped around the heavy bag. What do you mean? You're under attack. Your enemies are trying to break your spirit, destroy your confidence, make you doubt your worth. If that's not combat, I don't know what is. Maya had never heard Master Williams speak so directly about her situation. Usually he taught through metaphor and example, letting her draw her own conclusions. Then I'm losing. Are you? You're still here. You're still fighting. That's more than most people would do. I'm not fighting. I'm just enduring. Master Williams walked to his office and returned with a photo Maya had never seen before. It showed a much younger version of himself in military fatigues, standing with a group of soldiers in what looked like a desert training facility. This was taken during my second deployment in Afghanistan, he said. See the guy on my left? His name was Marcus, smartest soldier I ever knew. But he had one weakness. He thought every battle had to be won through direct confrontation. Maya studied the photo, noting the young faces, the easy camaraderie of soldiers who trusted each other completely. What happened to him? He walked into an ambush because he was too proud to retreat and regroup. Good soldiers know when to fight and when to prepare for the real battle. Maya looked up at him. What's the real battle? The one where you stop hiding who you are and start using everything you've learned. Master William's words stayed with Maya through the weekend. She spent Saturday morning in the dojo, pushing herself through increasingly difficult routines. Her body moved with the precision of years of training, but her mind was elsewhere, processing the events of the past months. You're holding back, Master Williams observed as she finished a complex combination on the mats. I'm not. You are. You've spent so much time trying to fit in, trying not to be threatening, that you've forgotten what you're capable of. Maya sat cross-legged on the mat, her breathing controlled despite the intensity of the workout. I can't exactly fight them. It's not like I can just kick Madison's ass and solve everything. Physical fighting is the last resort. But you've been trained in more than just physical combat. You know strategy, psychology, tactical thinking. You've been fighting this war with one hand tied behind your back. Then what do you suggest? Master Williams smiled, the first genuine smile Maya had seen from him in weeks. I suggest you stop playing defense and start playing offense. But first, you need to understand something about your enemies. He pulled out his phone and showed Maya a news article from the local paper. The headline read, Pierce family donates $500,000 to Westfield Academy STEM program. Madison's father is running for city council next year, Master Williams explained. The family's entire public image is built on philanthropy and community service. They can't afford negative attention. Maya studied the article, noting the photos of the Pierce family at various charity events, their carefully constructed public personas. What are you saying? I'm saying that bullies who operate through institutional power have institutional weaknesses. They depend on systems that protect them. But those same systems can be turned against them, if you know how. Maya spent Sunday researching everything she could find about the Pierce family, their business interests, their charitable activities, their political connections. She discovered that Madison's father sat on the school board, that her mother chaired the booster club, that their influence extended far beyond Westfield Academy. But she also discovered something else, a pattern of behavior that extended beyond her own experiences. Social media posts from former students, carefully worded complaints in school board meeting minutes, a lawsuit that had been quietly settled 2 years earlier. Maya wasn't Madison's first target. She was just the latest in a long line of students who'd been systematically destroyed for the crime of threatening the established order. Monday morning brought a new development. Maya arrived at school to find a crowd gathered around the main bulletin board. Someone had posted her photo from the gymnastics team website, but it had been defaced with racial slurs and crude drawings. That's not okay, David said, appearing at her elbow. This crosses every line. Maya stared at the image, feeling the familiar burn of humiliation. But underneath the hurt, she felt something else, a cold anger that had been building for months. You're right, she said quietly. It's not okay. For the first time since arriving at Westfield Academy, Maya didn't try to hide her reaction. She didn't look away or hurry past. She stood there, letting everyone see the pain in her eyes, the dignity with which she handled their cruelty. I'll help you take it down, David offered. No. Maya's voice was steady, controlled. Leave it up. Let everyone see what they're really supporting. The defaced poster stayed up for 3 days before Principal Martinez finally had it removed. Maya used those 3 days to document everything. The poster, the students' reactions, the administration's delayed response. She also began reaching out to former students, carefully building a network of people who'd experienced similar treatment. The response was overwhelming. Former students who'd been bullied into transferring, athletes who'd been benched for attitude problems, honor students who'd been mysteriously passed over for awards. All of them had stories. All of them had been silenced by the same system that was trying to silence Maya. This is bigger than just you, David said as they reviewed the testimonies Maya had collected. This is systematic. Maya nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. I know. That's what makes it so dangerous. What do you mean? They're not just trying to break me. They're trying to break everyone like me. Anyone who doesn't fit their definition of what a Westfield student should be. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Stop digging, or you'll regret it. She showed the message to David, who paled. Maya, this is getting serious. Maybe we should what? Give up? Let them win? I'm just saying, if they're threatening you, they've been threatening me since day one. The only difference is now they're being direct about it. This is about to get intense. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on because stories like this one show us what real strength looks like. What's your prediction for how this ends? Drop it in the comments below. Maya's investigation led her to Sarah Chen, a former Westfield student who'd graduated 3 years earlier. Sarah had been the valedictorian, captain of the debate team, and the first Asian American student body president in the school's history. She'd also been Madison's target during her senior year. "I should have spoken up," Sarah said as they sat in a coffee shop near the community college where Sarah was finishing her degree. "I had the platform, the credibility, but I was too afraid of jeopardizing my college applications." "What happened?" "Same thing that's happening to you. Social isolation, academic sabotage, psychological warfare. They made my senior year hell, but I survived by keeping my head down and counting the days until graduation." Maya studied Sarah's face, noting the pain that still lingered in her eyes. "Do you regret it?" "Every day, because I know I wasn't the last. There were others after me, and there will be others after you unless someone finally stands up." "What would you do differently?" Sarah leaned forward, her voice intense. "I would have documented everything. I would have built a coalition, and I would have made sure that when I finally acted, it was public enough that they couldn't cover it up." Maya felt a chill of recognition. Sarah was describing exactly the strategy she'd been developing with Master Williams' guidance. "There's something else," Sarah continued. "Madison's behavior isn't random. She targets specific types of students, minorities, scholarship kids, anyone who threatens the established hierarchy. It's systematic, and it's learned. Learned from who? Her parents, her social circle, the entire system that's protected her family for generations. She's not just a bully. She's a product of institutional racism and classism. To stop her, you have to expose the system that created her." Maya returned to the dojo that evening with a new sense of purpose. Master Williams was waiting for her, already aware of her meeting with Sarah. "You spoke to Sarah Chen," he said. It wasn't a question. "How did you know?" "I trained her too. Different discipline, same principles. Sarah's a good soldier, but she chose to retreat when she should have stood her ground." Maya processed this information, understanding now why Master Williams had been so focused on strategy rather than just physical training. She said, "I need to document everything and build a coalition. That's part of it, but you also need to understand your tactical advantages, which are, you're underestimated. They see you as weak, isolated, easily broken. They don't know about your training, your discipline, your ability to think strategically under pressure. That's your edge." Master Williams led her to the training mats, but instead of beginning their usual routine, he sat cross-legged and motioned for her to do the same. "Tell me about Madison's patterns. When does she strike? How does she choose her moments?" Maya thought back over the months of harassment. She likes an audience. The library confrontation, the pep rally comment. She always makes sure there are witnesses. Why? Because humiliation requires an audience. She's not just trying to hurt me, she's trying to demonstrate her power to everyone else. Good. What else? She's careful about official channels. Nothing she does is technically against school rules. It's all plausibly deniable. Which means she's vulnerable to exposure. If I can document her behavior in a way that can't be dismissed or explained away. Master Williams nodded approvingly. "You're thinking like a strategist now. What's your next move?" Maya closed her eyes, feeling the pieces of her plan falling into place. "I'm going to give her exactly what she wants, a public confrontation, but on my terms, not hers." The plan Maya developed was elegant in its simplicity. She would provoke Madison into a public confrontation, but she would do it in a way that exposed the ugly reality behind their conflict. Most importantly, she would make sure it was recorded. The opportunity came during lunch on Wednesday. Maya sat alone, as had become her habit when Madison and her friends approached her table. The cafeteria was crowded, filled with students and faculty. "Maya," Madison said, her voice carrying that familiar tone of false concern. "I've been thinking about our Othello project." Maya looked up, meeting Madison's eyes steadily. "What about it?" "Well, I realized we never really discussed the main theme. You know, about how some people just don't belong in certain places. How they bring chaos and destruction to established communities." The words were carefully chosen, designed to sound academic while delivering a personal attack. Maya felt the familiar surge of anger, But this time she didn't fight it. She channeled it. "That's an interesting interpretation," Maya said, her voice calm. "Though I think you're misunderstanding Othello's character. He wasn't the problem. The problem was the people who couldn't accept his success." Madison's smile faltered slightly. "I don't think that's right. Othello was the outsider. He disrupted the natural order." "The natural order." Maya repeated the words, letting them hang in the air. "You mean the order where people like Iago get to destroy lives through lies and manipulation?" The cafeteria was quieting around them, students sensing the tension. Maya could see phones being pulled out, cameras being activated. This was the moment she'd been preparing for. Some people are just born to certain roles. Madison continued, her voice rising. They should be grateful for the opportunities they're given instead of trying to take what belongs to others. "What belongs to others?" Maya stood up, her movement controlled but commanding. "You mean like my spot on the gymnastics team? My right to be here? My right to exist in your space?" Madison's mask was slipping, the polite pretense cracking under pressure. "I mean that some people need to know their place." The words fell like stones into still water, creating ripples of silence throughout the cafeteria. Maya felt the weight of every phone camera, every watching eye. This was her moment. "My place," Maya said quietly, "is wherever I earn the right to be. And I've earned my place here through hard work, dedication, and excellence." "What have you earned through, Madison? What have you actually accomplished on your own?" The cafeteria erupted in whispers and murmurs as Madison's face flushed red. She'd been publicly challenged in a way that stripped away all pretense, all plausible deniability. For the first time in months, Maya saw genuine uncertainty in her tormentor's eyes. "You think you're so special," Madison hissed, abandoning any pretense of civility. "You think you can just waltz in here and take what's ours? You're nothing but a charity case, a token minority to make the school look good." Maya felt the familiar weight of the slur, but this time she was ready. "And you're nothing but a legacy admission, coasting on your family's money and connections. The difference is, I had to earn everything I have." The crowd around them was growing, drawn by the spectacle of their conflict. Maya could see teachers approaching, but she held her ground. This confrontation had been building for months, and she wouldn't let it end prematurely. "You want to know what you are?" Madison continued, her voice rising to a near shout. "You're a thug from the ghetto who thinks she can fight her way into places she doesn't belong. But we see right through you." The racial undertones were unmistakable now, recorded on dozens of phones. Maya felt a surge of something she'd never experienced before. Not anger, but cold, calculated fury. "You're right about one thing," Maya said, her voice deadly quiet. "I do know how to fight, but not the way you think." Madison took a step closer, emboldened by what she mistook for a threat. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I've been trained by someone who taught me that the strongest opponents are the ones who look weakest. You've spent months trying to break me, but all you've done is make me stronger." "Trained by who?" Madison laughed. "Your community center karate instructor?" Maya smiled, and for the first time it was Madison who looked uncertain. "My instructor is a former Navy SEAL. He taught me that bullies like you are all the same, loud, aggressive, and completely unprepared for real resistance." The crowd around them shifted, sensing the change in dynamic. Madison's friends exchanged nervous glances, but Madison herself seemed trapped by her own momentum. "You think I'm scared of you?" Madison spat. "I think you should be," Maya replied, "because you've made a critical error. You've been fighting someone you thought was weak and alone, but I'm neither." As if summoned by her words, David appeared at Maya's side, followed by Sarah Chen and 3 other former students Maya had contacted during her investigation. They formed a loose circle around her, their presence a powerful symbol of solidarity. "Maya's not alone," David said clearly. "None of us are alone anymore." Madison looked around at the growing crowd, at the phones recording every word, at the teachers pushing through the crowd toward them. For the first time, Maya saw fear in her tormentor's eyes. "This isn't over," Madison said, but her voice lacked its usual confidence. "You're right," Maya agreed. "It's not over, but it's not going to end the way you planned." Principal Martinez arrived just as the confrontation reached its peak, his face already showing the calculated concern of an administrator more worried about optics than justice. "Ladies, that's enough," he said, his tone suggesting that both parties were equally at fault. Let's all take a step back and handle this like mature young adults. Maya felt the familiar frustration of false equivalency, but she was ready for this too. Principal Martinez, I'm glad you're here. This conversation has been very enlightening. Madison seized the opportunity to play victim. Principal Martinez, Maya was threatening me. She said she was trained by some Navy SEAL or something. I felt scared for my safety. The accusation hung in the air, and Maya could see the calculation in Principal Martinez's eyes. The Pierce family's influence versus a scholarship student's word. The math was simple in his world, but Maya had learned from Master Williams that the best defense was preparation. I never threatened anyone, Maya said calmly. I simply mentioned my martial arts training when Madison made comments about my background. Everything I said is on video, from multiple angles. She gestured to the dozens of students still recording. Principal Martinez's face paled as he realized the situation had evolved beyond his ability to control the narrative. Everyone put your phones away, he ordered, but the damage was done. The videos were already uploading to social media, spreading through group chats, reaching beyond the walls of Westfield Academy. I think we should all go to my office and discuss this calmly, Principal Martinez said, but his authority seemed diminished in the face of so much documented evidence. Actually, Sarah Chen stepped forward. I think the community should hear about this discussion, especially considering the pattern of behavior that's been documented over the past several years. Principal Martinez's eyes widened as he recognized Sarah. Ms. Chen, you're not a student here anymore. This isn't your concern. Bullying and discrimination are everyone's concern, Sarah replied, especially when they're systematic and institutionally protected. The confrontation in the cafeteria was just the beginning. Within hours, the videos had spread beyond Westfield Academy's social media circles. Local news outlets picked up the story, framing it as a conflict between privilege and perseverance. The Pierce family's carefully constructed public image began to crack under scrutiny. Maya's phone rang constantly. Reporters, supporters, concerned community members. But the call that mattered most came from Master Williams. You handled yourself well today, he said. But this is just the first engagement. Are you ready for what comes next? Maya sat in her car outside the school, watching students and parents gather in small groups, their conversations animated and urgent. What comes next? They're going to try to discredit you, attack your character, your motives, your credibility. It's standard playbook for people with institutional power. I'm ready. Are you? Because this isn't going to be a fair fight. They'll use every advantage they have: money, connections, media influence. You need to be prepared for a long campaign. Maya thought about the months of harassment she'd endured, the systematic attempts to break her spirit. I've been preparing my whole life for this. Master Williams was right about the counterattack. By the next morning, the Pierce family had mobilized their resources. A carefully crafted statement appeared on the family's social media accounts, expressing concern about misunderstandings and inflammatory rhetoric, while subtly questioning Maya's stability and motives. Madison didn't return to school for the rest of the week. Her absence was explained as stress-related illness, but Maya understood it for what it was: strategic retreat, while her family's lawyers and public relations team developed their response. The school administration tried to contain the situation by calling it a misunderstanding between students and emphasizing their commitment to dialogue and healing. But the videos spoke for themselves, and the community's response was swift and decisive. Parents who had previously stayed silent began speaking out. Former students shared their own experiences. Local civil rights organizations offered support. What had started as one girl's fight for dignity had become a community reckoning with institutional bias. This is bigger than we expected, David said as he and Maya reviewed the flood of messages and media requests. People are really paying attention. Maya nodded, but she also felt the weight of responsibility. It's not just about me anymore. If I handle this wrong, it affects everyone who comes after me. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source: Brittany Williams, one of Madison's closest friends. The pressure of public scrutiny and her own guilt had become too much to bear. She approached Maya after school on Friday, her usual confidence replaced by nervous anxiety. Maya, I need to tell you something, she said, glancing around to make sure they weren't overheard. About Madison, about what's been happening. Maya studied Brittany's face, looking for signs of deception or manipulation. Master Williams had taught her to read people's intentions through their body language and vocal patterns. I'm listening. Maya said carefully. Madison planned everything. The locker graffiti, the social media harassment, even getting you benched from the team. She bragged about it to us, said it was easy to manipulate the teachers and coaches because they were already biased. Maya felt a surge of vindication, but also anger at the systematic nature of the campaign against her. Do you have proof? Brittany pulled out her phone, her hand shaking slightly. She made us take pictures of some of the stuff she did, said it would be funny to look back on, but I saved them because I knew it was wrong. The photos were damning. Madison defacing Maya's locker, Madison and her friends planning their harassment campaigns, screenshots of the anonymous social media accounts they'd used to spread rumors and hate. Why are you showing me this? Maya asked. Brittany's eyes filled with tears. Because I'm tired of being part of something so ugly, and because my little sister is starting high school next year. I don't want her to think this is normal. The evidence Brittany provided was the final piece Maya needed. Working with Sarah Chen and a local civil rights attorney, she compiled a comprehensive dossier documenting not just Madison's harassment campaign, but the institutional failures that had enabled it. The dossier included testimony from former students, documentation of the administration's inadequate responses, and evidence of the systemic bias that protected students from influential families while leaving scholarship students vulnerable. But Maya's most powerful weapon was something she'd learned from Master Williams: timing and strategy. Instead of immediately releasing the evidence, she waited for the perfect moment. That moment came when the Pierce family made their biggest mistake. Feeling confident in their ability to control the narrative, they filed a defamation lawsuit against Maya, claiming she had damaged Madison's reputation with false and malicious statements. The lawsuit was meant to intimidate Maya into silence, but it had the opposite effect. It gave her legal standing to present all her evidence in a public forum, protected by the discovery process and media attention. They've walked into their own trap, the civil rights attorney explained. By suing you, they've opened themselves up to having everything examined in court. Their lawyers must be horrified. Maya smiled grimly. Master Williams always said that the best victories come when your enemies defeat themselves. The legal proceedings moved quickly once Maya's evidence became public. The photographs Brittany had provided, combined with the documented pattern of institutional bias, created an undeniable case of systematic harassment and discrimination. Madison's lawsuit was quietly withdrawn, but the damage to the Pierce family's reputation was irreparable. Local news outlets investigated their business practices and political connections, uncovering a web of influence peddling and selective enforcement that extended far beyond Westfield Academy. More importantly, the school board was forced to take action. Principal Martinez was placed on administrative leave pending a full investigation. Coach Henderson resigned rather than face formal proceedings. New policies were implemented requiring documentation and transparency in disciplinary actions. But the most significant change was cultural. Students who had previously stayed silent began speaking out against bullying and discrimination. The clear message was that institutional protection for harassment was no longer acceptable. Maya's reinstatement to the gymnastics team came with a public apology from the new interim coach. But by then, Maya had already made a different decision about her future. I'm transferring to Central High, Maya announced to David as they sat in the dojo after her evening training session. I want to finish my senior year somewhere I can actually focus on academics and athletics. David looked surprised. But you won. You exposed everything, changed the whole system. Why leave now? Maya considered the question, thinking about the months of harassment and the weeks of legal battles. Because winning doesn't mean staying. I proved I belonged here, but that doesn't mean this is where I want to be. Master Williams approached them, having overheard the conversation. Sometimes the most important victory is knowing when you've accomplished your mission, and it's time to move on to the next challenge. What's the next challenge? David asked. Maya smiled, feeling lighter than she had in months. College, and maybe inspiring other kids who think they have to accept institutional bullying to fight back. You've already done that, Master Williams said. The videos from that day have been viewed millions of times. You've shown people that it's possible to stand up to systematic oppression and win. The transformation at Westfield Academy continued long after Maya's departure. Madison Pierce transferred to a private school in another state, her family having lost much of their local influence. The new administration implemented comprehensive anti-bullying policies with real enforcement mechanisms. Most importantly, the culture changed. Students who might have previously stayed silent when witnessing harassment now spoke up. The clear lesson was that institutional power could not protect people who abused their privilege. Maya's story became a case study in civil rights organizations, an example of how individual courage could expose and change systematic injustice. But for Maya herself, the victory was more personal. She had refused to be broken, had used her training and intelligence to fight back strategically, and had proven that no one had the right to determine her worth or her place in the world. At Central High, Maya flourished. She made the varsity gymnastics team, maintained her honor roll status, and was elected student body president. College recruiters took notice, offering full scholarships to prestigious universities. But perhaps most importantly, she continued training at Master Williams's dojo, now helping him teach younger students, particularly young black and brown girls who needed to learn not just self-defense, but self-respect and strategic thinking. The fights you win aren't always the ones you fight with your fists, she told a group of new students during one training session. Sometimes the most important battles are fought with intelligence, courage, and the refusal to accept that you don't belong. One of the younger girls raised her hand. What if people try to make you feel like you're not good enough? Maya smiled, remembering her own journey. Then you prove them wrong, not by changing who you are, but by showing them exactly who you are and refusing to apologize for it. 6 months after the confrontation that changed everything, Maya received an unexpected letter. It was from Madison Pierce, postmarked from her new school in Connecticut. The letter was brief and handwritten. Maya, I know I don't deserve forgiveness, and I'm not asking for it. I just wanted you to know that what happened made me realize how ugly I had become. I'm in therapy now, trying to understand why I thought it was okay to treat people the way I treated you. I can't undo what I did, but I want you to know that you were stronger than I ever imagined, and I was weaker than I thought possible. I hope you get everything you deserve from life. Madison. Maya read the letter twice, then showed it to Master Williams during their next training session. What do you think? She asked. I think people can change, but only if they want to. The real question is whether it matters to you. Maya folded the letter carefully. It doesn't change what happened, but it means that maybe some good came from all of it. The good that came from it, Master Williams said, is that you became who you were meant to be. Strong, strategic, unbreakable. Everything else is just confirmation. Maya's final act of victory came at her high school graduation. As valedictorian of Central High's senior class, she delivered a speech that was broadcast live and shared across social media platforms. To the young people watching this who feel like they don't belong, who feel like the system is rigged against them, who feel like their voices don't matter, I want you to know that you're wrong about one thing. Your voice does matter, your presence does make a difference, and you have more power than you realize. But that power doesn't come from changing yourself to fit into spaces that weren't designed for you. It comes from being so undeniably excellent, so unquestionably worthy, that those spaces have no choice but to expand to include you. I learned that strength isn't about never falling down, it's about getting back up every time. And when you get back up, you're not just fighting for yourself, you're fighting for everyone who comes after you, everyone who looks like you, everyone who dreams like you. So don't shrink, don't hide. Don't accept less than you deserve. Be excellent. Be strategic. Be unbreakable. And remember that every institution, every system, every person who tries to diminish you is just afraid of what you might accomplish if you refuse to give up. The speech went viral within hours, shared by civil rights leaders, educators, and young people around the world who saw their own struggles reflected in Maya's story. But for Maya, the most meaningful response came from Master Williams, who simply said, "Mission accomplished, soldier." I hope you enjoyed that story. Please like the video and subscribe so that you do not miss out on the next one. In the meantime, I have handpicked 2 stories for you that I think you will enjoy. Have a great day.